August 8, 1963. A Royal Mail train thunders through the darkness of the English countryside, carrying millions in untraceable cash. The crew has no idea they're being watched. 15 men wait in the shadows, armed with inside knowledge and a plan years in the making. In just hours, they'll pull off what becomes the most audacious robbery in British history. But how did ordinary criminals outsmart an entire railway system? And what single mistake turned folk heroes into hunted fugitives? 6 months earlier, a small-time crook named Bruce Reynolds sits in a London pub, nursing a pint and dreaming of something bigger. He's tired of petty theft and corner shop holdups that barely pay the rent. Reynolds wants a score that will set him up for life, something that will make headlines and cement his place in criminal legend. That's when he meets a railway worker with a very interesting story to tell. The man reveals something that makes Reynolds' eyes light up. Every night, a mail train runs from Glasgow to London, carrying astronomical sums of cash. Not just any cash, but old notes being returned to banks for destruction. Untraceable money that exists in a bureaucratic blind spot. The worker knows the exact car, the precise timing, and most importantly, how vulnerable the operation really is. Reynolds' mind races with possibilities. This isn't just a robbery opportunity, it's the robbery opportunity. But pulling it off will require more than luck and a few desperate men. He'll need a crew of specialists, each bringing unique skills to what promises to be the most complex heist ever attempted on British soil. Over the following months, Reynolds quietly assembles his team. There's Gordon Goody, a master of logistics who can plan operations down to the smallest detail. Buster Edwards brings muscle and nerve, never backing down from a confrontation. Charlie Wilson adds technical expertise, understanding exactly how to disable security systems. Roy James, known for his driving skills, will handle the getaway vehicles. But the most crucial recruit is a man with railway connections who understands signal systems and train operations. Without inside knowledge of how the railway functions, their plan is doomed before it starts. This insider reveals the train's most vulnerable point, a stretch of track near Bridigo Bridge in Buckinghamshire, where the mail car runs isolated and exposed. The gang spends weeks studying their target, learning every detail of the route and timing. They discover the train carries up to 120 mailbags filled with cash, far more money than they initially imagined. The potential haul could reach millions of pounds, enough to make every man on the crew wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. Their plan is elegantly simple, yet dangerously complex. They'll tamper with railway signals to stop the train at the perfect location, overpower the minimal crew, and transfer the money bags to waiting vehicles before vanishing into the night. It sounds impossible, but Reynolds believes they can pull it off with military precision and split-second timing. The crew establishes a base of operations at a remote farmhouse called Leatherslade Farm, miles from the robbery site. Here they'll retreat after the heist, divide the money, and lay low until the heat dies down. The farmhouse becomes their headquarters, stocked with supplies and escape vehicles, a fortress where they can celebrate their victory. As the date approaches, tension builds among the gang members. Some worry about the violence that might be necessary. Others fear the massive police response that will surely follow. But Reynolds keeps them focused on the prize, reminding them that this single night could set them up for life. The robbery requires perfect synchronization. Signal tampering must happen at exactly the right moment. The train must be stopped at the precise location. The crew must be overpowered quickly and efficiently. Any mistake could trigger alarms, summon police, or worse, result in casualties that would turn a daring heist into a murder investigation. On the night of August the 7th, the gang makes final preparations. Vehicles are positioned, tools are checked, and roles are reviewed one last time. In just hours, they'll either become legends or spend the rest of their lives behind bars. The greatest train robbery in history is about to begin. At 3:07 a.m., the trap springs shut, The Royal Mail train grinds to a halt at the tampered red signal, exactly where Reynolds planned. Driver Jack Mills steps down to investigate the malfunction, walking straight into the gang's carefully laid ambush. Within seconds, he's struck over the head with an iron bar, blood streaming down his face as he collapses to the ground. The violence shocks even some gang members, but there's no turning back now. They force the injured driver to move the train forward to Bridego Bridge, where the real work begins. The postal workers in the mail car, outnumbered and terrified, offer no resistance as masked figures pour through the doors. What the gang discovers inside exceeds their wildest expectations. Not the anticipated few £100,000, but sack after sack of cash, totaling an astronomical £2.6 million. In today's money, that's over £50 million, enough to make each man a millionaire several times over. Working with mechanical efficiency, they form a human chain, passing bag after bag to waiting Land Rovers. The entire operation takes less than 30 minutes. By 3:45 a.m., they're racing through country lanes toward Leatherslade Farm, leaving behind a crime scene that will dominate headlines for decades. At the farmhouse, euphoria fills the air as they count their incredible haul. They've just pulled off the robbery of the century, stealing more cash than anyone in British history. Champagne flows and laughter echoes through the rooms as they divide the money into neat piles. Each man's share is worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. But success breeds dangerous overconfidence. The plan called for burning down the farmhouse and scattering immediately. Instead, intoxicated by their triumph, they linger for days, playing Monopoly with real money and celebrating like conquering heroes. This fatal delay becomes their undoing. Meanwhile, the robbery sends shockwaves across Britain. The injured train driver becomes a national symbol of victimhood, generating massive public sympathy and police pressure. Scotland Yard launches the largest manhunt in British history, deploying hundreds of officers and unprecedented resources to catch the perpetrators. The breakthrough comes when police discover Leatherslade Farm before the gang can destroy it. Inside, they find a treasure trove of evidence. Land Rovers with paint traces, empty money sacks, and most damaging of all, fingerprints everywhere. The criminals had been careless, touching surfaces throughout the house and leaving behind perfect identification. Within weeks, the arrests begin. One by one, the masterminds behind the Great Train Robbery are captured and charged. The fingerprint evidence is overwhelming, and their carefully constructed alibis crumble under investigation. The men who thought they'd achieved the perfect crime discover they've left a trail of evidence pointing directly to their identities. The trials become a media sensation, transforming the robbers into unlikely folk heroes. To a British public still recovering from post-war austerity, these ordinary men who outsmarted the establishment capture imaginations. They receive fan mail in prison and become celebrities despite their crimes. Most gang members receive sentences of 25 to 30 years, effectively life imprisonment, for a crime involving no murders. The harsh sentences reflect official outrage at their audacity and the need to deter copycat crimes. Yet one name becomes legendary for different reasons entirely. Ronnie Biggs escapes from prison in 1965, undergoes plastic surgery, and flees to South America. For decades, he taunts authorities from Brazil, beyond the reach of British law. His freedom becomes part of the robbery's enduring mythology, proof that at least one man beat the system completely. The Great Train Robbery remains unmatched in criminal folklore, the gold standard by which all other heists are measured. It combined meticulous planning, incredible audacity, and a haul so massive it captured global attention. These 15 men didn't just rob a train, they robbed their way into history itself.